since we're slowed down, this can help us. I'm putting it again because I think, Sam, you came in after and maybe don't see it. I put a link in the chat to a Google sheet on which you could put if you're interested, and it would really help you be able to see the links to today's lesson, because I didn't go back and make them. Except for like Rowena, you already have them. Jerusha, you have them, so you don't need to do that. If you got my Google Drive yesterday or already had it for whatever reason, you certainly don't need it. But, right, I see Mark's there, Eileen's there, Sam is getting there. Beautiful.
Okay, yeah, sorry about that, everybody. We had a problem. I was not logged in or something, so.
It does need to.
Co-host Rusha, I'm making you the host.
Yeah. Okay, great.
I see. I am now too.
And now I have no power.
No power?
Well, no, like you have all the power now. Gina.
Oh, whoa.
Okay, so good morning. Thanks for coming. So in the chat, we're saying whether we teach AP or not, and what school you teach at. If you already did that, great. People that came in a little later will miss it, but also, so this is the drive that this is the Google form we're looking at right now. And so I'm not sure who else is here that maybe doesn't have access, because it will make clicking around on this document I'm going to share. It will make things open for you. I think a lot of it will open anyway, like the YouTube video and the Google Forms probably would open anyhow, but yeah. And so I'm assuming these are all Gmails. I know that the school Gmails, mine does too. But I'm gonna, oops, I don't need to do that. And so I'm going to share that stuff with you so that you can open it. And I will leave you on this drive until Friday, at least, unless I hear more from you in an email that you are interested in continuing. And so my email is there. You can see in the top of the, whoops, that's not what I meant to click. In the top of the, yeah, Google form that you're looking at. So let's share and put that, you guys, in. And I'm making it view only, which is what I always do. And I am sending you a Gmail. You don't necessarily need to open anything right now. But so this session, well, welcome. Hi, I'm Sue Biggs. I can introduce myself. I teach at Greenwich. Oh my God, you're at Greenwich. Good Lord, Carolyn. I teach at Westboro High School in Central Mass, just outside the 495 ring. And I was 20 years at Northampton before that. And I was in private education at Loomis and a couple other places along in between. There was a few sort of giddy ups in between, but I've been at it for 34 years. I've taught AP about 19 times, I think. I've been a reader for, I don't know, maybe this was my 9th time. I thought our guy yesterday, Sam, I think you were there. I thought he did a great job, way more thorough than I would have ever thought of it, nor would I have had any images of my first time out from the Concur planning of how you get the guy yesterday, I forget his name, from Berlin, Connecticut. He did a great job talking about going to the reading, which I do highly recommend. We call it the read and feed. He never said that because you read and they feed you for 8 hours a day. It's great professional development. But anyway, that's not what this session's on. So again, I'm assuming, oops, Chris, let me add you as soon as you get in there. So this session, my theme this week has been electrochemistry, because I love electrochemistry. I tell kids, look, if you're not going into biochem, or don't have your heart set on being a doctor or whatever, and it's not going to be material science, then you should go into battery science. I got solar panels on my roof, and I I know and they're owned by Tesla, and I know I could buy the Tesla battery so I could get off the grid. It's not that I need to be off the grid, but my electricity rolls out to the grid, and National Grid charges me more charges. I don't get as much value when it comes back in, so it's annoying. I'm about $900 into the grid, but anyway, and it's that way every year. I can barely use it up, and I've converted some of my house to electrical heat just so I can use it up. They make it hard to give it away or sell it to somebody else. You certainly can, but it's not, they don't make it easy. Anyway, so battery science is certainly a way to go. So I love electrochemistry. So that's really why this, I guess. It seemed like a lot of this summer I was thinking about, there, Chris, I added you. I can move this now. I was thinking about kinetics. So I did a lot of, neither of which are my first units, right? I do kinetics, I do electrochem very early. I had already done it when COVID hit, and so I was left doing electron configuration, periodicity, Lewis structures, shapes, and interparticle forces all online, which went fine. The kids were amazing and came every day by choice, most of them, and those that didn't come didn't need to come. Anyway, so, which was way over and above. We were only teaching 40 minutes a week. But anyway, point is, so here we are with electrochemistry. So we started, since some of you put your hand up if you were here on Monday with me. I know, Jerusha, you were, Sandy. So this will be a little bit of a repeat for you two, but I've already changed the document. So I'm going to put a link, and I think this will be the link. Let's try it. I don't know. I think this will be the one. Well, I'll open it and then I'll know. Oh yeah, it is that one. Okay, that's good. So let me put this link in the chat, and then I can get rid of this. I don't need this open anymore. Chat, where are you? Right. Oh, you're covered, yeah. Here it is, and not just to Jerusha, but to everybody would be good. There we go. So this is a link to this document, which, you know, here we are going, I can close that too, going hybrid, right? Or all fully remote. You know, my school, we're doing some kumbaya singing for a week with a quarter of the school. Then we go by the 16th or something, maybe we're going into half, you know, half the time, whatever. And then we know by Thanksgiving, if not before, we'll all be remote. But whatever, it is what it is. So I've been trying to dream up ways that we're going to teach asynchronously, because I know they're not going to give me full time, and nor should they, in front of the kids. And even if we're remote, I only see the kids. I mean remote, even if we're hybrid, right? We only see the kids, well, it's not even half the time to what we used to have. But so this lesson, and it's got this random question mark because I haven't numbered. I'm obsessive compulsive about numbering my stuff. And I don't mind that it goes out of order, but as I start to make these asynchronous lessons, never having done it before, my class is not flipped. I have not been, I thought I would retire before I would flip my classroom. You know, Bernstein and all those guys have been talking about it for what, 10 or 15 years now. And I thought, oh, maybe more. And I thought, oh, I won't have to do it. And so here I am, right? We're having to do it. Okay, fine. So Jerusha raised a great point yesterday, is that a lot of what I'm making, especially video, lab video wise, will be useful going forward, assuming we get back to normal after this year, that it will be useful for the kids that are absent, or reconvert some of the videos into pre-lab videos or post-lab or whatever. So I'm also new to Google Classroom. I have had a website for 25 years, but and still have it, but it's not a way, it's a way to deliver papers that they lose and homework and videos and whatever, but it's not a way to nudge them the way I know Google Classroom does. And in these times of remote, I thought, okay, I need that, right? I need that piece to be able to nudge them and push them. So these also are weirdly numbered. The B lesson is this, I don't know. So, because what I found out is to push Google Forms out to them, you guys can click on this and get a Google form. But I know if they click on it and get the Google form, it doesn't dump into my Google Classroom. I know I need to make them go back and click it from the classroom. So after this week, that link won't be there because I won't want the kids to click on it. So again, I need to change the titles and whatever. But so all I ever require is their period and their name. And then I'm right in asking them questions. So I would want to show you, and then we'll go right to the lab because I know I have less time today, that I learned from physics instructors at UMass who had a grant to try to teach high school teachers how to use clickers, and not how to use them. That's not hard, right? But they were not studying, do clickers help kids? Because the research is already out there that it makes the classroom more active and helps for all sorts of reasons that we don't need to go into here. I'm not proselytizing clickers, but I think they're great. But anyway, they were studying how to teach teachers to do it and how to get it to stick. So 10 years ago, free clickers and a lot of professional development, and their mode was teaching to learn. They had this philosophy, and they have a curriculum out there, physics curriculum, that is teaching, not teaching to learn, question to learn. Oh my God, I'm blabbing through my head right now. Eileen, you've made a lot of videos, flipping them for 8 years. They're on your YouTube channel. Yes, so send us a link or something.
Yeah, I just stuck that in there because you were talking about videos, and everybody's trying to switch over and don't spend hours. If you go to YouTube, my name, and choose Boston Bruins, you'll find them pretty easily.
I'm a little obsessive, so I may look to you for ideas, but I'm likely to make every single one myself. But thank you, I will go look there, I appreciate that. So Eileen, you probably don't even need to be here if you've flipped your classroom, but anyway, here we go. So anyway, I learned I switched over to teaching with this question to learn. So ask the kids questions, and then maybe mini instruct and so on. So teaching voltaic cells for me is a big long PowerPoint, and I don't click through it. I never use I shouldn't say never, I hardly ever use my PowerPoints in slide mode, but always just as a PDF so that I can write over it, or so that it looks the same when the kids have access to the PDF. So this question right here that I would ask in class, I now am asking in a Google form. It's a little bit different, but the pictures are the same, as you can see. And if I was in class, I would have asked this, and then I would ask that, and then I would go say, maybe you remember about the activity series, and then I go right back to the question again, without giving them a whole lot of time to find zinc and copper on the activity series, and go right back to it. And then hopefully they would answer. But so now I want to do all of this right through here. Let me go back to slide view. I want to do all of this right through to on this one particular, well, this whole lesson. I want to go all the way through beyond there. This one lesson goes all the way up to nurse. This summary question is the last question on this lesson. It's been turned into, it's a 3-page lesson, which could be more once they start typing, but this summary lesson turns into, you know, whatever it was slide 71 right up to nurse. So I haven't made yet what I need for nurse. But anyway, so I was thinking, and we can do it however you guys want. I'm happy to blab, or rather have you try. So this Google form, you can try it or not. And you don't have to put your name. So the kid maybe says both situations, which of course isn't right. But then when they push next, right away, they would see an answer. This Google form is not meant to be a quiz or any kind of summative assessment. It's really a learning tool. And so if they didn't get it before, they now should see, oh, it's only one reaction. Right, not both, because this isn't happening. Here, let me, and the one on the right is happening, of course. I was going to make my cursor a little bit bigger so I could wave the wand with it. Here we go. Hold on, display cursor. There we go. Now you can see my cursor. So then, so the kids would say, oh, right. And hopefully you'd hope, right, that they would choose this next one if I can do it with my big cursor. And then there's a lot of review because as you saw in the lesson, they're going on, they're talking about types of chemical reactions, blah, blah, blah. Now, mind you, that's not voltaic, but this was a preview to this concept. Right then, if you didn't do it already, by the time they make it to the bottom of this, they're asked which particle gains electrons. And there's instruction all the way. And when they submit this, the hope is that they view their score. Of course, I did terribly, but that they can edit it. That they have the ability to go back, I think, and edit their response. And so I would hope after reading some feedback, blah, blah, blah. Sadly, on Google Forms, you can't give feedback on these types of questions, but there would be feedback, hopefully, or some video links that would then help them edit. So ultimately, they'll get 14 out of 14. That's my hope. Or if they don't, so what? It's not really going to count for much, but hopefully they're learning what to do. And then ultimately, they can write a net ionic equation here. This document they would submit. And of course, the Google Forms will get submitted to me just so I have data to see who's doing it and who's not. So then they're either printing this or writing this on their own notebook paper and eventually going to take a picture of it. But now they're writing the half reactions. But before that, they would have gone to this video, which is me, Eileen, probably not as smooth as you. And
Voltages.
yeah, voltages. I'm certainly not going to play the whole thing. But this is me talking over this same PowerPoint on my iPad. And so talking about this particular lab before that I want the kids to do. Now they would watch this video and then they'd continue. And let's see, so back to the video just for a second. This is not the right video, I don't think. No, it's not. I had it right yesterday, and now it's not right. This video is meant to talk about half reactions, and I see it's not. I don't know how that I changed that since yesterday, but I'll fix that. I could do it right now, but anyway, it would teach them about half reactions. Then they would go to yet another Google form and answer questions about half reactions. And and voltaic cells. I don't know what this Google form is. I'm going to click there to see. It's disconcerting with this very large clicker. Oh yeah, so it asks them, hopefully they've written their net ionic equation. They have to click to be able to progress. And so I am either happy to, eventually they make it to this video, which is an electrochemistry. If you are doing I don't know, if you do voltaic cells in your lab, I do them in class the first time around like this, with solutions and a string that they don't put in right away, which they learn in the video, which I'm sorry, the wrong one is linked, and I'll fix that. And so they learn about the zinc and the copper voltaic cell. But then if you are doing, I don't know, if any of you do lots of voltaic cells and you do them in the mini well plates, if you do, you need to stop and do them on a filter paper, because the mini well plates, it's just a lot of dunking and a lot of fiddling with a tiny little piece of metal, and you can slap them right down on a filter paper and fill in with the salt bridge in between. And so that's what this video is. It talks to the kids about filling in, and then it eventually,
Salt bridge.
yeah, be quiet.
Metal
It eventually,
and then cutting.
yeah, cutting filter paper, which I know I don't
Into the
really
top.
need to do, then laying them all down, and eventually, there we go,
See the combination.
getting around to getting voltages. So this is me in my basement making videos with my iPad and getting voltages, and this drags them through this particular lab, which they would have opened. This reduction potential series lab. that's blurry, you can certainly open it as well, that would drag them through it, tell them what metals are there, have them show them what I did on the video, which sadly they would do, of course, if we were in school, and then asks them to fill some numbers in back in this lesson that they're getting off of the video. At one point, the video, whoops, I'm going to put this aside just for a second. At one point, the video will take them to this point where I changed the video since yesterday or the day before, I guess. And I said, return to your lab sheet, and using table 3, which eventually the students will hold on, I'm going to open the teacher version of this, which you have access to. This is unit B for me, and I'm in lab B4 reduction potential table folder, but if I can open the teacher version. So eventually the students are able to fill in and get values like this off of the screen. And there'll be a range, but they'll be, they at some point, I think I say, don't take the lowest thing you see, try for the highest one that you see. But the values are amazingly good. And so I've done this. And so then I asked the students to use this to now, here I'm teaching them, which, oh, there's a typo, which teaching them to flip the oxidized metal, which they should know because there's been some instruction already to flip. You know, if you're going to put the combo of 2 with 3, which is zinc and lead together, they got to flip one of these. And they're going to have to flip this -86 to make it turn up positive. And they do that and get a value. And then they go back to the video. They return to the video and they see all the remaining combos, right? At which point now you change them so that they'll be positive. I think this
This is metal 2 with metal 3.
So I'm going to switch.
Again, this time we want to record the positive value, paying attention.
And so they get something that's really close, of course, because all the same errors that are made when you're making this reduction potential table happen when you're then using it and doing all the alternative cells. So one thing that's very weird about this lab that's a little disconcerting to some people is the first time around when you do it, when you run this lab, you want to make this first combination of M1, which is copper, and zinc. You want to make the voltage display as negative. I get it. I mean, it's still the zinc that's oxidizing, but that means that the copper will be attached to the black lead if you've got it hooked into your voltmeter, right? And the zinc will be attached to red. It will read -0.8 or 0.9. And but you leave it that way, and then you move your way, leaving the black lead on this blue. You move to lead and get a negative value. You move to silver and get a positive value. And you move to tin and get a negative, and back to magnesium and get a negative. And the reason you do that is so that then these values that you measure for these combos, setting copper to 0, these are the reduction potentials of all those other metals. You don't actually have to do. I've seen people, when I was first trained by Renee McCormick to do this lab, she had them make it so the first one was positive, and then she would flip, she'd still hold it in place, but then she'd have to flip all the values. That didn't make sense to me. So I said, set it so it's negative. So then ultimately, when you're setting up a reduction potential table, the values are what they should be in terms of, now they are not, and there's a caveat here that says beware because of lab error, blah, 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 blah. Don't try to take the 0.34 in the reduction potential table and make them work. Of course it works for copper because we set copper to 0, so you get the right number. But it doesn't work as well. It works pretty well for a couple of them, but it doesn't work very well for the rest. So I don't let the kids do that. I say, look, you've made a reduction potential table. Now use the one you made to calculate, understanding that you've got to predict who you're going to flip. Now, if they were in school, they'd go back to the lab bench and test. And they're amazed because they get great results. Again, because the lab issues work the same for this reduction potential table as it does for when you're doing all the alternative combos, right? All the 2, 3, 2, 4, 2, 5, 2, 6 combos. So my hope one day, when we're back to normal, is to push this into first year. Maybe not the second part, but at least the reduction potential to line the metals up. Because I know a lot of people do some putting metals into acids and look at reactivity and doing single replacements. I would like to do that, but more, and actually line them up. And they line up amazing. The way that they line up here is exactly the way, not with the same values, of course, that they'll line up in the reduction potential table. And even in spite of zinc and lead being so close to each other, sometimes there'll be, out of 12 lab groups, one group will have that inverted. But all the rest will be on the money in terms of line them up, silver, copper, and so on. If you do this lab, oh, Mark Langella, look, there's a little test tube, a little pipette. Just saying. Anyway, I used to use pipettes. Now I use little bottles because I don't like to set things up over and over. So I've converted everything to plastic small bottles because it takes me all of about 5 minutes to set up 6 lab stations. And of course, it would be double, 2 scissors and 2 sets of these and on the lab station. And
Susan,
yeah.
did you ever try putting silver, like create a reference cell in your little star where you put silver chloride in one spot and do an analysis of the reference cell to all the different other half cells?
Well, I'm not exactly sure what you're asking me because the reference for me in this lab is copper. I asked the kids to set the, ultimately, here, let me get out of the way so we can close this a little bit. Ultimately set the copper to 0. And then,
Right.
yes.
So I'm wondering, you know how in a pH meter, right, it has a reference cell inside the electrode. It's silver chloride, right? You create a saturated silver chloride precipitate, right? So if you take a piece of silver and put potassium chloride solution on it, you're going to create that equilibrium just like in a reference cell inside of the pH probe. So instead of using a hydrogen cell, you're just moving the reference cell to silver chloride. And now you're emulating like the pH meter, how the pH meter works. And then you would go around the star. This way copper is in the mix rather than copper is the reference. I'm just curious if you ever tried that. Because I like your idea. I've seen this before. I think it was McCormick that showed it to the idea.
I don't know exactly what you mean. Are you saying that way I would get negative?
Copper would give you a voltage read. So you're going to change the reference cell to the classic reference cell that's using the pH probe.
Well, why would I want to do that? What's
so
the
that you include copper. Copper is going to give you a voltage, and then you're going to emulate your reference cell. You'll be able to show all the elements, including copper, in order with a voltage. And then you could, if you were able to, I don't know how you can pull it off, create more, I guess, cut it into more cells. You can do a copper solution, 1 molar, a copper solution, 0.1 molar, copper solution, 0.01 molar, and show how concentration affects the voltage. I'm just looking at the AP level, like how to take that and jack it up a little bit.
I've tried that, Mark. I've tried doing, bringing the Nernst into it and dropping down the molarity to 0.001 for both the copper and the zinc. And the reliability of my voltage probes, yeah.
No, I've actually done it with like the old school. I don't want to take away from Susan's thing. I wanted to know if you ever tried. I'm going to try it. I'll let you know.
Well, I have made concentration cells. That's a whole separate, in my opinion, that's a whole separate lesson that takes you further to Nernst. But I don't know I still am not clear what the benefit of referencing to the silver is over referencing to copper. Are you implying that by referencing it to the silver, that would give me the actual values in the reduction potential table? Would that somehow?
You'll get it referenced to a silver, like the reduction reaction of the silver chloride reduction reaction. So when you test the silver, you're going to get a voltage. When you test it, you're going to get the same water anyway. At the end, you're accomplishing the same thing, but you're using a different reference cell. So you're going to get a number for silver, you're going to get a number for copper. So copper doesn't get to 0. The reference cell gets to 0. And what will happen is you'll be able to, you're going to end up with the same thing. I'm just curious if it would
I
work.
haven't done it, but I don't see that reference cell that you're suggesting I set to is not still going to give me a value of, it's not going to give me a value of 0.34 for copper. It's going to give me something else in lineup, and that doesn't get me any further ahead in terms of I still have a lineup. But if I'm not getting these values, so unless I reference it to the hydrogen electrode.
But the silver, in other words, the hydrogen cell, reference cell, is not used anymore. They use the silver chloride because it's easy to reproduce. So you're just emulating like what's in a pH probe. A pH probe does that to a hydrogen ion
Okay, but when you say it's not used, it's what's going to be 0 in our reduction potential.
Right, I got you. No, I just asked if you ever tried it, that's all.
I have not.
Yeah.
Susan, how come you used tin and not iron?
Yeah, so it does say here, I don't use iron because I wasn't getting very good results. I did have iron, I actually had 8 metals in the mix before, and I don't use aluminum. We all have aluminum, it would be great to use, but aluminum gives crazy results, and I have found that the iron doesn't give great, like sometimes aluminum will turn up positive versus negative when it should be one or the other, and I found that the iron doesn't give me great results. And I'm guessing maybe, and it sounds like maybe you've done iron and get good results. I haven't got very good results with it. So
All I remember is that the smaller, like your combo of 3 and 5 must be miserable. I mean, they're right next to each other on that table, right?
well, I'm telling you, look what they did.
Where's
Yeah.
the combo when you use 3
Oh,
and 5 together?
can we measure? Yeah, we would have to go to the video. Yeah, I think it turns out to be, I don't have it written down here. Why not? I didn't write them down. Oh, 3 and 5,
Yeah.
0.123. Gives a value of 0.123.
Okay. It's
So,
not that bad.
yeah, and what's really nice is when you do the combo of 4 and 6, which is silver and magnesium, you get a value, and it forces the kids to have to realize they need to switch the voltmeter from 2 volts up to 20 volts so that they can actually see it because it overloads, and that happens in the video.
Oh.
So again, I don't know if, and Eileen, when you say you have videos, yours are lessons, not labs necessarily. Is that right?
Yeah, they're mostly lessons. There's an occasional pre-lab for a lab, but they're not like no, this is incredibly helpful, and I like the activity when we can get into the classroom, and I like what you've done with it as a lesson. Great job. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, no problem. And you, like I said, you have access to,
Attention to which
oh,
metal.
sorry, we don't need to listen to that. Here, you wanted to see, what was it, 3 and 4? Let's go there. Oh my, I just lost it. Go back. Ay, ay, ay.
Susan, all your videos on YouTube?
Well, let's remember, I have only been, I got to get rid of this big cursor. It's making me crazy. I've only been on YouTube since March. I have not had a flipped classroom. I have only been there. Here's the video. Since March. And so, yes, I am there. It's my YouTube.
Voltages are
Sorry, I
measured
wanted to
for
get all the
2
way down
half
to
reactors.
this.
I think it's a great idea what you're doing. In fact, that was
There it
my
is.
thing.
There it is. Carolyn, there's the,
Uh-huh.
there's the 3, 5
Yeah.
combo. So yeah, my YouTube is simply Chem123. And it's just, it was that because I wanted it not to be my name and I wanted to have chemistry in it, and that's what I could come up with. Plus I've ran a whole lot of sports teams called Simply This, Simply That. And I mean, it wasn't that, it was Simply Orange, and it was Simply Green. And when we went to Bermuda, it was Simply Pink and blah, blah, blah. But anyway, so I show you some of where I'm headed with some of my other, so anyway, I want to pause because, well, I mean, I know I have a few minutes left, but you don't need me to take you step by step. Plus, this lesson would take a whole lot more time. I envision this not one homework night, but multi, right? And so multi, because then they're learning about the standard reduction, which is, this is the one thing that they don't really have to know for the AP exam, anything about the hydrogen, the standard hydrogen electrode, but it sets them up for understanding that, oh, when I go to the reduction series, it's not copper that's 0 and why copper has a number. So that's why I put this very short video in. And then ultimately the kids go back to the lab and then they answer a question. And ultimately they're working this question about aluminum and lead and who's oxidized, who's reduced, where's the anode, where's the cathode, blah, blah, blah. And ultimately I asked them to take a picture, draw the salt bridge, take a picture, drop it in, do the math, probably easier for them to drop a picture in. Yeah, Flynn sells a lot of things, Esther. I don't buy Flynn any kits, but you can buy all the kits you want. That's great. But that's just my choice because their bottles are hard to refill when they sell their 10 little bottles that pop that little top off and they're too small and they charge more than you can. But anyway, yes, it is true. I finally can see my chat. I'm sorry I couldn't see it before. But anyway, I want to pause for a minute because you now have access to go look at this. And this video for this lab at this point is not, it's on my YouTube site, but it's private. All that's on my YouTube site are the videos I had to use last spring to teach what I was teaching to finish the year. Ultimately, either through Eileen or through my own, there'll be instruction for all of the AP and my honors for that matter, because it's got to happen. But the lab stuff isn't there yet. I may put it in and up so that other people can go and grab them and just make a what do you call it? A playlist that is all the lab stuff. And it will be random snippets of labs. Because I have been doing some more lab work, for instance. Well, anyway, I want to take a breath and take a quick drink and ask if anyone's got any questions or comments on this. Have at it.
When you do this lab, do you clean the surface of the metal before they
No,
put it in?
and I use that as an excuse for our values. Because, and it's not really the only excuse, because even when they clean them, I have never yet using, where is it? Using this setup right here, I've never gotten better than like a 0.95. You know, it's supposed to be 1.1. My solutions, I tell the kids they're 1, they're actually about 0.2 each. But it shouldn't matter, right? Because there's no stoichiometry. So even with lower concentrations, if they're the same, the voltage should still be 1.1. I've never gotten it. I hear people online who are like, whoa, I always get 1.1. I'm like, well, good for you. I can't get it. And I'm okay with that. So no, I don't clean them. I mean, if it got really bad, Mark, yes, I would sand them up before I handed them out or brush them off or whatever. But, you know, or if the kid that dunks this one into there, that's annoying, then you got to clean it off, right? And so, but otherwise, no. I don't. I think it's more about the salt bridge. Or I'm always after my kids not to dunk my alligator clips, but sometimes they get rusty, and that's an issue too. But anyway, if you don't have these voltmeters, probably a physics department has some voltmeters. Also, you can get them for $5 at Ocean State not Ocean State. Come on, Harbor Freight. And I have a bunch of the Harbor Freight ones. The only issue is every now and then these get a little loose here where you stick the leads in. And if the kid's like, I'm getting no value, I'm like, push the leads down in, and then they usually work fine. But it takes some time, of course, to set up all these, but I don't set them up anymore because I got them. And, you know, if you don't have a wood shop of your own, which I have in my basement, you know, get the wood shop in your school to drill some holes with a Forstner bit, which drills with a flat bottom, so that you can put your solutions in, and then you just grab them out of put them on your lunch trays, and boom. I'm a huge fan. Oh, I don't show the lunch tray there either. Oh, it's here. Huge fan of the lunch trays. These are from Amherst College. Over the years, they've given me about 600 of them, which I have distributed over the years to people.
See, Miss Vogel, I'm not crazy. Susan's just as crazy as I am. You see that? I like
Yes,
it.
you're both crazy.
I
Totally
like
wacko.
Susan. You're my kind of woman. You build things. I like it. I like it.
But anyway, so questions. Otherwise, I also would show you a few other quick videos of stuff that I think, I don't know, does anyone, probably most of you have a Hoffman apparatus in your classroom for electrolysis of water and collecting the gases. But if you don't, perhaps instead I also could share with you. So sitting on my desk right now is all of this. This is my hand, I'm waving to you. So sodium sulfate is my new best friend as far as chemicals. And so if you haven't yet, here, let me pull this around, then pull this up front, and then I can move it so I can hold it a little bit better. You know, your usual beaker, you know this black plastic that comes in the front of notebooks, you can even see where the little notebook hole is. You cut a little hole in it, and you cut it so it's the right width so it will sit down in a beaker and stay there. And then you cut this other little hole, and you, whoops, sorry, I'm off the screen. You stick your battery on, and then you make it tight enough so it stays, and you stick it down in your beaker with your sodium sulfate, which of course with bromothymol blue will be blue, because we all know, even though we pretend in AP that sulfuric acid is a fully strong diprotic acid, it's not. And right, sulfate is a base. And so your bromothymol blue will be blue, but just a few drops of 0.1 molar HCl in a stirrer, just stir it till you get back to green, right? And then you put your battery in. There, I'm stirring. There it goes. You put your battery in, and you get a nice color change on either side of the battery. This is me putting a flashlight over top so we can see a little bit better, right? And then you also want to be sure to point out to the kids which is the plus end and the minus end of your 9-volt battery. And so that will also go in my mix for electrolysis. Yesterday I was talking about electrolysis of potassium iodide, but I haven't finished a lesson for this, and really I need to get going on my first unit. Because school's coming hard and fast, right? And stuff, messing around with my 3rd and my 5th units. But anyway, so that's a nice, if you don't do that yet as a way to show electrolysis, if you don't have the snappy Hoffman apparatus, you can certainly do it here. It does sacrifice your 9-volt battery, but you can get the cheap sunbeams for 50 cents a piece at Ocean State Job Lot or wherever. And I found that they'll easily work over a course of a couple days. If you take it out in less than 2 minutes and dry it off, it'll keep working. If you leave it in for the whole day, forget it. It's gonna, of course, the water is gonna soak in, because that's just a plastic cap. So there's that one. I did a lot of messing around with, yeah, let's go back to chemistry. I did a lot of messing around with kinetics this summer. So here I am thinking this is something we would do. You know, we all got to talk about collisions, and that if it's hot, the 2 reasons, collides harder and more often, right? Whereas what if I have, this would be my control. What if I have double concentration of the bleach, and what if I have triple amount of dye in the bleach, right? So, you know, you want, this will go along with a lesson where I ask them to write on a Google form, give me some collision theory explanation as to what's going on, to hit the words and actually use the word collide, which they don't seem to do on their AP exams, right? So in this video, I will say it changes immediately. And so I got to thinking about that, and I'll show you that in a minute. But so then you can see, of course, that's fast time. And so we get the results that we'd like in terms of the hot going fast, the double concentration. I'm trying to show the temperature that these guys all were 20-something degrees. And then ultimately, I think I didn't either wait long enough, or maybe my bleach isn't enough to be able to clear this one out completely. But also on my drive under kinetics, you would find, I was wondering about that. I mean, I know why, right? Green food coloring is 2 dyes, right? So, oh, Chris, I don't think I ever sent it to you. There you go. You have it now. Sorry about that. Access. But if I go to, and I know I'm off topic, but if that ship sailed. If I go to kinetics, let me put this one aside for a minute. Oh, also stop buying your hydrogen peroxide from Flynn. This is $11. You'd pay $200 for the same amount of hydrogen peroxide from Flynn. This is 27%. Flynn's is 30. Who cares? Ocean State, $11. Just saying. Anyhow.
You said that's Ocean State bleach?
Oh, no, it's Pool Shock. It's hydrogen peroxide. I think the next one there, 27% hydrogen peroxide. It's shocking that they sell it in their store with no more than a plastic bottle around, a plastic bag around it.
Go to the pool supply store. Yeah.
Pool supply store, Ocean State, you know, everybody talks about go to the beauty store for 10%, but go for the big kahuna. And those of us in New England have Ocean States most everywhere. And so it's a great price.
And that's just their Pool Shock?
Yeah, it's in the pool section. Trisha, I can't believe I haven't told you that before.
You probably have.
Yeah.
My brain's a bit like a sieve.
Part of why Flynn is charging so much, because I tried to buy those Expando bottles because they're so terrific to add, you know, your manganese dioxide when you're all done and just got a little bit left, and get the darn thing to go big and stretch out. But the bottles themselves are about $9 each. At least that's the best I could find. So they're really charging for the bottle, not the hydrogen peroxide. Anyway, so this one is a video that's coming. I'm going to not do it on my phone. I'm going to go to my iPad, but I wasn't videotaping with my iPad. I would do this in class when I'm doing Crystal Violet, in that they wouldn't go to their own, here it comes, wait for it, there it is. So as the Crystal Violet is fading, they can see the, absorbance graph. But so that made me wonder about the blue food coloring, right? So what's going on there? So what will happen, let's get this out of the way. You don't need to look at that anymore. What will happen is kinetics. There we go. Whoops. Images and movies. This guy. Come on. Taking me a second to find it. Movie, Crystal Violet. The absorb. Where? Oh yeah, this is it. I think. Yeah, I don't want to open it that way though. Hold on. Sorry, struggling for just a second. There's where I want to be. Kinetics, just movies, Crystal Violet. This thing. So I thought, okay, I got to go back and videotape this, right? So here's the Flynn or Pasco. It's Flynn, but not Flynn, Vernier probe. And so, you know, looking at, here's my blue, here's the blue in the blue food coloring. And here's, here's the green, if you will, in the blue food coloring. And so when you turn it on, look how quickly the purple or the green is I guess what is it? What makes green? Blue and yellow. Sorry, the yellow dye is gone, right? And so, but the blue dye persists longer because why ever? I don't know or need to know the reason why, but that would go along with that previous video that you saw for, you know, why does it go green immediately? So that also got me wondering, so I wanted to slow things down. And I learned that you can't slow things down with an iPad inside because the lights flash. And maybe Mark knows more about that, but hold the phone, Mark, you can say, I've asked my lighting experts and they don't have a great reason. They say it's an electrical issue, it's not the light. But so I had to go outside. So I'm in my driveway now, right? So I could have the sunlight happening. So here I come in slow motion. These two are here just for reference colors. So I'm putting my bleach into my green food coloring and my yellow food coloring. And so you can see how quickly the green turns to blue because the yellow, of which there's more of probably in here, goes to colorless pretty quickly. These are food dyes, so I think there's some red in here as well that never really clears completely. But you can see how long the blue is persisting, but the yellow goes right away. So that's why the green turns almost immediately. Like I was like, wait, what? Did I miss something? And then I went to the spectrophotometer to see what was going on. Anyway, so that may get in the mix somehow as well. But yeah, I'm gonna stop. I'm happy to, I can't wait to go dive into Eileen's site and see maybe what I can avoid building, but, and spend my energy maybe on more lab work and not lesson work. But Eileen, what order do you go in? I don't follow the College Board. Not that I can't certainly mix and match your videos.
I think I'm teaching AP this year, but I haven't taught it in a couple years. So I try to make the videos so that they are accessible for both regular chem kids and AP kids, and both classes are usually fine with that. In the past, we've always had half of the kids in AP never having had chemistry. I inherited that when I came here. This year everybody is going to be required to have chemistry before they can take the course. So I'd like to get back to not starting from scratch and doing it all over again. I'd love to hear where other people start, because I would really prefer not to start at the beginning. Does it make sense to go ahead and jump into some of the net ionic and redox, which they may not know well, or jump right to kinetics and equilibrium and all this stuff? I'm curious what other people are doing.
I start with reactions just because it's been a while since they saw them. We give them summer work, so basically the summer work reviews stoichiometry, any stoichiometry problem, and we don't just some of the more simple stuff. Like basically we want them coming in feeling totally comfortable with stoichiometry. And then we'll do a reactions unit where we just sort of remind them about the things, but really try to pull out harder stuff. And that's when I start teaching redox as well. It's amazing what they forget. So I do find that even teaching the AP, I do sort of have to do a quick review of everything. And so what I tend to do, and I do it in a slightly different order than Sue. I cover everything that they learned in chemistry the previous year. I've gone over by midterm and in a lot more depth. And then that leaves really just equilibrium and redox to do for the whole third quarter.
Wow.
Can you remind me where you are, what kind of school you're at?
I'm in a public high school. I teach in Greenwich, Connecticut.
Okay, yeah, that's right. Thank you.
Yeah, I think a lot depends on, Eileen, what gets done in your first year class. For 20 years, I taught at Northampton, and all we ever made it to, because we taught chemistry in 90 days. In honors chemistry, we only made it through stoichiometry. No gas, no, I did acid base in reactions, but certainly no K, no Q, no electro, no heat even. I didn't even do energy in my honors class. But when it came to AP, I had them 85 minutes every day for the whole year. So I was able to do it. Now I'm at a school that we cover heat and gases in first year. They're new just as of last year, so the kids know more. So with only, I went from 85 minutes a day every day down to 54. So there was a big transition for me last year, but I was up for the challenge, and just something new and different. But this is the order that I go in. And to help when I teach APSIs, because I don't say don't go in the, I say go in whatever order makes sense to you. And so what I've done is on the CED, I've put my units in line with how they line up with AP. So I start off right away, but then I save some of this stuff till later. And then I save this till the end. For me, unit J is my last unit, you know, all this intermolecular Lewis structure stuff. I guess intermolecular is right here, right?
And that's
So,
not a bad idea, Sue, because the AP loves IMFs.
Oh,
they
yeah.
do, but you could
It's
argue,
really heavy.
you can argue the longer it's in their head, the better it sticks and just review it later. But I find that they don't have much trouble if you're real hard on using the vocabulary right and hitting it, that they can get this. And we've touched on some of this as we go anyway, but I've made this to help, like obviously kinetics is kinetics and obviously thermo is thermo. Although you see, I'm doing a lot of unit 9 really early. And I do that because I want that hard stuff up front while the seniors haven't put their feet up yet. Although for a long time at HAMP, I didn't teach seniors. I had sophomores and juniors. Now I have juniors and seniors. But, and so, you know, F is F, equilibrium's equilibrium, G, you know, so a whole lot of my units match up, just go in a different order. You know, it's all, everyone knows it's the mishmash units, which is 1, 3, and 4. 1 through 4 really is, and you know, you hear people on, new teachers online saying, oh my God, how can I follow my book if it's all different chapters? And so, you know, you got to do it. So I proselytize, do what seems right to you, but here's my resources and where to go find them when you know what you're doing.
Sue, are you or anybody else worried about the College Board doing what they did last year? Like I had literally just finished teaching acid, base, and thermo and was going to cycle back to unit 2 and unit 3 at the end, like similar to what you do. And then they said, oh yeah, no, drop 8 and 9 and test on 2 and 3. And my kids, I think their scores suffered because of it, because they learned 2 and 3 online.
Right. Well, you know, like I said, I was lucky. My kids kept coming. I had to teach my unit H and all of J after, and they did fine. I only had 19 kids. I was new to the school. I only had 19 kids. I got 65 next year, but they were a very clever little group, and the really clever ones that got 4s and 5s didn't come but twice a week when they were required to, and the rest of them came every day at 1 o'clock, mostly. And so they did okay because I was lucky to have that optional. I wasn't giving them grades. We were just plowing through material synchronously with each other. But here's what I know. College Board hasn't decided yet. And I know this, that even because I'm very good friends with the head of physics. Amy Johnson is head of 4 physics exams. She used to teach at HAMP. She was sitting on my deck 4 days ago. And I said, okay, Amy, tell us. She said, they're not deciding yet. And she doesn't think they'll decide till December. But she said, they're not cutting anything out. She said she will be stunned when they cut stuff out of physics too, she will be stunned if they cut any out, because suck it up. We've known we had to be online. You can do what you want with your order, but you figure it out. So I don't think they're going to cut anything out. Whether or not we can go on paper and do the whole thing obviously depends on if the schools are going to let kids in the door. If some schools aren't letting kids in the door, will they do all online? That would be my guess, because they'll want it to be uniform. But also Amy said that they are developing, at least she and John Pinzotto, who are physics, are developing and they have 4 exams, developing multiple choice. Because Amy said the reason they didn't do, I can stop sharing, thanks. The reason they didn't do multiple choice this year was their platform wasn't going to be able to ramp up quickly enough to handle that many clicks, because every click is a response. And you know what it was like for kids trying to send 2 documents. They weren't ready for all the clicking that multiple choice would have required. As simple as it seems, it was more bandwidth or connection or whatever. She says they'll be ready for it this time. So it obviously will mean for us in chemistry that if there is a multiple choice segment, that they can use a calculator, because who can control that they can't. I'm still going to teach it the same way, but if we're remote, I can't stop them from using their calculator, so it'll be what it'll be. But so yeah, Chris, I don't think they're chopping anything out. So I thought about following the College Board order, but there's so much to get ready, even with Eileen's help. I thought, I can't change my order and get ready. I'm going to get ready the old way. And someday before I retire, I will go in that order. So if I do teach APSIs for a few years after I retire, I can say, well, I tried the College Board order and this has worked and maybe I should have done it sooner. Or I'll be like, well, I tried it and this is still why I like this other way better.
What about any adjustments you're making? Because like I know my honors kids from last year did not have a good spring preparation. And so their stoic skills are probably non-existent. And the gas laws, we got kicked out right at the end of my reactions chapter. And so I'm worried about my preparation for my kids.
Yeah, I mean, I feel your pain. I mean, I had made it through stoic and I had energy and gases already had happened at Westboro this year. But, and we were just doing shapes and molecules and stuff like that. But, so they had grapes and marshmallows and were sticking toothpicks in front of me. But anyway, I don't think they care, you know, because it's not equitable anyway, because who knows, some kids are in Eileen's class as a first year and have nothing ahead of time. I know that's not what College Board wants, but it's the reality. And so I don't think they care. And so I think it's suck it up and giddy up. And here's my one piece of advice that I've been delivering. Don't sweat it. The kids are going to survive. It's going to be what it's going to be, and it's going to stink for many reasons because they can't be in the lab, and that's why they're there. They can't be closer to you, and that's presumably why they're in your room. And so for all those, and if we're remote, I've already let go of the whole assessment piece. Without a doubt, my grades will be elevated this year when we're remote because I'm not giving out the tests that I've used in the past. I'm making up quickie 10 question versions and everybody gets a good grade or whatever, or do another one here and I don't really care. My grades can be elevated for a year. So everybody's happy and the good kids will keep at it and keep trying to learn chemistry. And they're going to carry on because they know they're going to college and going to do it, or they know they want the 5 so they can get out of it in college. All those reasons, just don't sweat it and do what you can do in whatever way you think will be the best to get them as far as they can get. And what rolls down the pike, rolls down the pike. That's
Sue,
what I say.
Can you talk a little bit more about exactly how you plan on doing the testing? Because right now, 70% of my grade is testing. And I just, so exactly what are you planning on doing for that?
Jerusha, mine's 65-35. The 65 was tests and the 35 was labs and quizzes. Right. And I did have a test correction method that was minuscule, but it was really to get the review, but which you have seen before. But I don't know. I think I'm going to scale and make sort of this, I got to make some value 10% to this sort of online or asynchronous stuff. So I'll take that away from my tests and put that into their asynchronous participation somehow. And then my tests, they're not going to be authentic in the sense that there's going to be cheating. Some of the kids won't cheat, but a whole bunch are going to, and whatever. And if they do, they do. I'm not going to get them to set up the phone. Here, you can't see it. Set the phone up and have their computer so I can see their hands and their screen and hope that no one's off in the distance telling them what. I'm not doing that. And so that's why I won't use the assessments that I've used in the past, because I want to keep those close to the vest to have ready to revise and use in another year. And if they cheat and they're elevated, that's what I said. I've let go of that months ago. And you know, when we went to pass fail, and we at Westboro had a high pass, and almost everybody got the high pass anyway. So whatever.
Oh yeah, we had pass fail and nobody failed.
Right, and we're not pass fail now. I'm sure my school is going to make us grade.
Yeah,
if everybody gets really good grades this year, good for them. And if I end up with some 2s and 1s, I mean, I had 1, 2, and 1, 1 this year. And if I have less of those other grades that I had and more of the, whatever, it is what it is. They're not.
Can I ask the group if anybody had a student who was unable to submit
I
their
had
response and then had to do a makeup?
I had 10.
Yeah,
Terrible.
two.
10 of 60 of my kids had to take the makeup, which was 4 weeks after school was out.
I know.
Yeah.
And what happened?
2 of them got 5s. Like they were like 2 of my highest kids, and then some in the middle. Most of them were then like middle of the road kids. But then they just were really
Lost you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did. You froze up, Sam.
got it.
Oh, there you go.
They said they thought it was a lot harder.
Oh, what an abomination. Oh,
But I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I told them like, we have to just roll with what we got. And yeah.
I had my best student. She just decided not to take the AP because she was going to Brown, and she just took their placement exam and blew it away. And I'm like, that is more validating to me than whatever they did on the AP the exam this year.
yeah.
I'm just, we eliminated summer work that we usually have because we've told the kids they have to actually have chemistry this year. But I also have pretty good meeting time compared to what I've heard from other people. I'm going to see them for about 4 periods a week that are 50 minutes long, but it's just really shorter. So I have less time. That's why I'm thinking about not spending a lot of time redoing what they theoretically had in chemistry
Yeah.
the first time around. You know, I know they got introduced to acids and bases, but they didn't get much. So it's not that, I mean, obviously that I'll go from scratch, but that's why I'm wondering like how much time to spend reviewing stoichiometry and such.
Maybe you could do like a pre-test or something, you know, like give them some sort of pre-test, see how they do. And then like, I know it's going to be a little more, you know, work up front, but even like differentiating, like you scored a little lower, like this group of kids works on this group works on this, just to kind of give them, I know my kids struggled with online work. They said it was like teaching, not for chem because we were really just reviewing, but for like math, they were like, it was hard. It felt like I was teaching myself. And like, I think I need to review it. So like, I'm kind of just going to redo Lewis structures and shapes, and because that's what they did towards the end of the year, electron configurations. But I wonder if doing some sort of like quick pre-test might help.
Yeah, I feel pretty good about, despite what everybody says, I feel pretty good about what they got particularly in the honors chemistry sections last spring, because the whole department is using my videos and flipping. So when they went online, it didn't feel that different to them. The kids were already used to watching videos. Obviously, it wasn't really a flipped classroom anymore, but the kids were in the habit of watch a video, have a discussion, try some stuff. So I think that group of kids actually got a decent experience. And I wasn't teaching it, so thankfully. But I like the pre-test idea, just a check-in.
Yeah, and I also think stoichiometry shows up everywhere. Just start doing AP problems.
That's what I thought, yeah.
What the issue is, like, I don't review anything. The kids on day one get an AP problem. Sure, it's review material in that AP problem or parts of an AP problem. Just have right at it and see what happens. And then you'll know, oh, gotta do a little snippet here or there, but I don't know. It's my thought anyway. But you guys were great for listening and showing up. And like I said, you do have access to my files if you want. Let's communicate on email if you want to continue to have those past Friday. There is, I would say, if you did anything, I'll send you an email at some point that says read this first because it explains the organizational structure. Because if you don't know that, it's like, whoa, it's a lot of stuff. And it's very organized, but you need to sort of pair it with my units and then understand, like I said, I'm obsessive about the way documents are titled. And so the letters at the beginning of every title mean something. And I do know that lab is spelt with a B. It's laboratory. But for me, the capital letters LAD is an acronym. Labs were when L was when they got out of their seats. A was when they were on their flat top desks doing chemicals and pouring. And D was when there was one set of chemicals in the room. So really, they're probably all D's now because I'm the one with the chemicals on a video. But whatever. Anyway, so you guys, thanks for coming. I appreciate it. And
Thank you for having us.
well, if I
Thank
can
you.
help.
Thank you, Sue.
Thank you, Sue.
Question for you, Sue. So you've been obviously putting a lot of time into the electrochem units. Are you planning on eventually trying to make these like at-home video labs for all your units?
Yeah, everything. In the next 2.5 weeks.
I would love if we could set up a time to do I'm the Western Division acting chair. I'd love to have you present again, like a little later on some other unit that you've put together. Because every single time I attend one of your things, I learn a new way of doing something, and I just love it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Sure. I mean, that's fine. And yes, I do. I won't get it all done, of course, the next 2.5 weeks. But as I watch the days tick away, because I think I have to go back for teacher stuff the 31st. But like I said, I don't think we get kids singing Kumbaya until about the 15th. Because there's something about, we're supposed to do a lot of SEL stuff for the first week with a quarter of the school. And I said to my department in a Signal chat yesterday, I said, like, what are we going to do in this sort of, they called it SEL and something else. I said, are we going to like practice putting our mask on and washing our hands? I mean, what is that? Why can't we get to know, like people, I know there's a lot of talk about, and I get it. I get we have to develop a relationship with our kids online, and that's way harder online. But the way I develop a relationship with kids is doing chemistry with them, not singing songs and holding hands. So I want to get right to it and get to know them that way. I don't know. But anyway, because they're already chopping at the people in Georgia are having a fit because they've been pushed back and schools are closed and they can't start till after Labor Day. It's like, yeah, that's our world all the time, right? But now they're pushing our Labor Day start back to the 15th or whatever. But so we got to get to it. And I'll keep doing it, Jerusha. And so I'm going right to Eileen's site to see if there's any lessons, or Sam. I know, Sam, you're all over YouTube too.
Yeah, I have some lab videos too. Like I have flame tests up already. I do gravimetric analysis of a metal carbonate. And I do Eileen, she's not on here anymore. I do percent copper in a penny as my first lab, usually with the kids.
With a year in honors.
For AP. So it's just the let's review stoic, really. So all the lab calculations are go to moles, use molar mass, right balanced equations. And just to kind of put into perspective, so I'm not in New England technically. So I'm in Pittsburgh, and I go back to school on the 24th with all kids coming 5 days a week, face-to-face, normal schedule on the 27th.
Of August.
Of August in 2 weeks.
We'll see how long you're in school for.
Yeah. So I've been doing these lab videos. Some of my kids have the option of staying online. My district has said, we want you to try to get in the lab if you can. Okay. So I told them my kids need gloves. They already have goggles. They have the option to buy their own goggles, and most of mine did for this year. Masks are finally mandatory because our governor made it mandatory. They were optional until the governor made it mandatory. So I've been making these videos for the kids that are at home. So I have done the first 3 so far. I also am going to do.
What's your YouTube? I'm going to put it in the chats.
Actually, it's just my name.
Yeah, I found her easy enough. If you're on YouTube and you Google Sam, I don't know if I did Samantha or just Sam, but there's not many Ramaswamis out there, so.
Lessons themselves, and then I also have like labs that I've started doing. Let me see if I can. There you go. My internet is like has been going in and out all morning.
Oh, she's out again.
Like
There she is.
flipped like 4 years ago, but I've started doing more labs now too. And like Sue gave me great ideas for all of these demos too. So not even if they're long labs, but like doing these demos as well would be great. So I have to try to find a way to do lab in person, but also accommodate those that are remote.
Yeah, I heard you talking about, Sam, having virtual lab partners. I also do think that if kids step to the lab area, every kid washes their hands, they've got their masks on, they use the equipment, they wash their hands when they're done. I think gloves are sometimes a false sense of security.
So I said that. I said like, I've trained the kids, wash your hands before, wash your hands after. And our district was like, well, we need to get them PPE too. And I was like, okay. Like,
Yeah.
So I'll have them wash their hands, put gloves on, take the gloves off, wash their hands again. Like,
Because I hear teachers talking about, oh, I have to disinfect the lab equipment. I'm like,
they want us to. They want us to. And I told them if they're washing their hands and using gloves, like they can wash the equipment like normal. And I told them I don't have time to disinfect with 4 minutes. We have 4 minutes between classes.
Right. Me too.
Like, I don't have time. Yeah.
Anyway, we'll see, right? It's going to be a you know what.
I'm sure we'll be remote soon. There's bets on how long Pennsylvania stays. We're the only district in our area going back face-to-face 5 days a week.
Mm.
I wasn't even thinking about, I mean, my plan was to do as many labs as possible in that first month before they end up being sent home permanently for, and I guess I wasn't really thinking that I would need to do a lot of sterilizing and stuff.
I don't think you do. If you, like I said, if you're doing the hand washing and they're wearing their masks and then they're hand washing again, how can you sterilize it any better with your potential of carrying COVID around than they can by washing their hands and protecting themselves?
Well, and I know that some people here at the conference have said that they just aren't going to do labs at all because of the risk of that. And so I'm just curious as to what people think. Like, is there a big risk? I guess
way more risk with them in the car coming to school, mixing it up in the hallway than there's going to be in my lab with one kid at a station washing their hands. When I'll be all over a kid for wearing a mask like this, and it will be ugly. But who knows what they're bringing in the room or what they're getting when they're out there in the hallways and everywhere else where they are. So. Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna be the mask police, the hand washing police. You just are, like, in addition to your teaching.
Yeah.
And
the
my
district
school totally expects me to wipe everything down in between groups coming into
Not doing that.
my room. So and I don't think that they're gonna supply me with extra PPE for myself.
Yeah, ours is,
Apply that to myself.
yeah, we do. We have to have our own masks. They're like, we'll give you a face shield. I'm like, I would rather have a mask, but thank you. Like, so yeah, that's the same. And I told my district, if you want my equipment sanitized in between, give me some sort of like sanitizing solution, and I'll just have the kids do like wash the glassware and just do a final dip, let it dry, and there we go.
Yeah, I just feel like that's insane. And sure, I want my surgeon to sanitize the surgical things, but that's a whole lot different than kids in a high school classroom. And yeah, I don't know. And maybe if and when I get COVID, I'll feel differently. I don't know, but hopefully not. So
I'm gonna sign off. Thank you so much for running this, Susan.
yeah, thanks for.
Yeah, Sue, I can't wait. Like, if once we do, electrochem stuff in AP Teach, like, this is like, these are the kinds of things I can't wait to hear.
Well, like I said, I was trained in this ask questions. I mean, I was a teacher for a long time. I mean, been at it for 34 years, but these UMass guys had this whole question to learn curriculum, and I drank the Kool-Aid and bought into it. And sure, there's obviously times when I don't use a textbook, so there's times I have to deliver material, and now they're going to have to get a lot of that asynchronously because we're just not with them as much. And I even had to make the transition from 85 minutes to 54 minutes, 6 days out of 7. And like I said, it was a challenge and it was fun. And kids learn a whole lot more 54 minutes a day all year in honors than they were learning in my 90-day, because my old school was on a block. So we did chemistry in 90 days. And even though it was 85 minutes, 90 days, you can't do double homework. So you don't get double chemistry. But so it's fine. I can do it in the 54 minutes, but now we have less because we're online and you're not with them and they, but it's just another challenge. I look at it that way. But I'm in a different place than a lot of people. I got no kids anymore. They're 22 and 25. And sadly, they're living at home because retail's all they got right now. No museums and no sports collegiate coaching. But at some point they'll move out. But, I don't have to drive kids. And so I have a lot of time, and kind of my hobby is chemistry. So that's what I do and think about all day long when I'm not walking or golfing or whatever else there is to do. But yeah, so anyway, and so that's my feeling, Sam, is with the AP Teach. I love the group. I love the enthusiasm. I just want to hear more. Like, I feel like even today, that was too fast. I would like a session where somebody just shows us what they do. And some people won't like that because they'll feel like, oh God, I know this. Well, obviously we all know it, but
Yeah.
you got to hear somebody do it to learn. Oh, like if I could videotape you, if this were a normal year and I could videotape you or put a camera on your wall and listen to you, or Jerusha or somebody, that's what I would do. That's what I would do instead of watching Netflix at night, is I would watch someone else teach stoichiometry or electrochem or, whatever. But we don't have that luxury of watching each other do our trade. And just because you're like, oh, I want to do it that way. And, at 34 years in, that's why I do it. It's my drug. Learning is my drug, and I enjoy new ways, new things. So.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm going to send something like right now too, just after this session. I mean, it's good just to see, like I didn't even think about doing, voltaic cells on filter paper. Like I set it up usually with the beakers and we use a filter paper as a salt bridge, but like we still use like beakers or well plates or something. So just getting ideas like that is like great.
Right, and I didn't make that up. In the words of the great Renee McCormick, I harvested it and enhanced it, which is another word for steal and make better, right? And so nobody has claim to any of what we do. We all do the same thing. We just put our own spin on it. So that's why I don't sell anything, because I'm just doing what everybody else does.
Hey, Chris and I are having a little conversation here that we would like you to talk about. So can you tell us about AP Teach? Because you guys are talking about it, and I've heard of it, but I don't really know much about it.
Oh, go Sam.
So I've only really been involved since March, and I kind of just got asked to present something one day in March on like going online. So AP Teach is a group of AP chemistry teachers who meet either once a week, or over the summer we've been doing every other week, and we just have some sort of topic. So last week was building your virtual toolbox. So like I presented on using like virtual card sorts. So how to make, like I had a PES card sort that I usually do with my kids in person, but I switched it to Google Slides. So if you are asynchronous with your kids or just online in general, you can have a kids do a card sort to still just to have this like formative assessment. And somebody else talked about Chem Collective. So like we just have these different sessions, and then we go into breakout rooms. So kind of like this, where we're just like brainstorming and talking. We'll go to breakout rooms with maybe this many people. What, there's 10 in here right now. 10 is usually like the max. And then we spend about 20 minutes in breakout rooms just coming up with ideas, talking about, you know, what are you struggling with? What do you want ideas on? And then kind of come back to like the main group and share ideas and things like that. And so it's just like, and what Sue and I were talking about is right now, since March, really, it's kind of been more like, how can we shift AP chemistry online? Like, what are best practices for teaching things online? We looked at using AP Classroom. AP Teach is not affiliated with College Board at all. Oh, Siri. Shh. But we have like, I mean, like Sue is involved, Michael Faraball, Paul Price. Like we have a lot of like people that are affiliated with College Board like participating, but we have no affiliation at all with College Board. But it's just kind of a collaborative group of AP Chem teachers that are willing to share ideas and, you know, develop ideas.
Are there specific times that you guys meet? Is there like an email that goes out to everybody and says we're meeting at this time, or?
So yeah, so usually we meet Thursday nights at 8 Eastern, which I think everyone here is Eastern finally. So usually it's 8 Eastern on Thursday nights. I think next Thursday, I don't think we're going to meet tomorrow. I've been looking at all of our Slack messages, but I don't think we're meeting tomorrow. Instead, we'll meet next Thursday, and it's going to be more of like a back to school happy hour type session where, kind of from what we've talked about so far, we're going to split into breakout rooms based on how we're teaching. So like I'm going back face to face. Somebody else is completely asynchronous. Like she's not seeing her kids at all. She's just completely asynchronous. And so we're going to kind of split into breakout rooms and just talk about like, what are you doing? How are you adapting? Kind of like what we've done here, you know, in the last like 10 minutes or so. You know, any ideas to share, things like that. And then the goal is once we actually get back into school to have more of these content discussions. So like if Sue talks about like what she does for electrochem, you know, we can brainstorm ideas that way. Other people talk about kinetics. So just kind of like getting content, but then ideas for how we teach the content as well.
Awesome. I just put it in my calendar.
And if you join the website, so like I know Chris said, because Chris was kind of our host for our session on Monday. If you join the website, so if you go to apteach.org and you just put in your name and email, you'll get email like reminders like, here's our next session, and then you can RSVP in Zoom. And then, you know, there's recordings. So if you can't join, there's recordings on the website. I mean, there's a ton of stuff on the website already. All of the old sessions you can see. So I don't even know how I got brought in as like a teacher leader, because I was like, I've been teaching AP for like 7 years. Like I don't consider myself like a veteran teacher. I don't know, maybe it's like the tech side of it, I don't know. But yeah, so it's just kind of a way to have a group, you know, have like this online PLC. I know I'm the only AP Chem teacher at my school, so I love having these sessions and being able to talk and collaborate with other teachers.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Drusha, sign up. I had to turn my air conditioner on, so it might be loud, but sign up on the website. Go to apteach.org.
I already have. I did it while we were talking.
Yeah, it's definitely good. They're a funny group for sure. But it's so nice to just have an hour on Thursday nights to be able to think about AP Chem with like-minded people. But
Although I signed up and now I'm trying to log in and I can't, nothing's happening. Okay, I'll figure it out.
yeah, you'll get on board. Maybe there's a lag time, Sam. I don't know, between.
Yeah, I'll ask and see if there's like a, you know, they have to send me, maybe they have to send like a please confirm your email type thing. And then if not, I'll let them know on Slack.
Got it. Okay, I will follow up on that. Thank you.
Yeah, I read that, Chris. I'm not doing it.
The one thing that I like about the
document, my attention span got lost on the first page, and then I was like,
so Cleeps is really good. The UK is weird because they have lab, like people to set up labs, like lab technicians, which is different from us, which is why it's so intense. Is there's someone whose job is to do nothing other than that, but they have so many details that all of our plans in the US are lacking. You know, like they've actually thought through really carefully how to do this stuff. And they have, I think they have some really good suggestions for things. And I just think that on the other hand, here it's just like none of us know what to do because like my district says we're not even allowed to use sanitizing sprays because, you know, ooh, there's chemicals. So only soap and water.
yeah.
I think there's a break at 11, right, Jerusha?
Huh?
It's probably time to go.
Susan,
I have a
quick
union
question.
meeting at 1
What do you
o'clock.
think about, Susan?
Yeah.
Quick question. What do you think about this PES? Do you think that they're going to stop asking questions on PES?
Oh, no, definitely not. Why would they stop?
Then
Oh,
why,
did you-
why in the planning guide that they have, when they had the 2 tracks, track 2, they give 0 time to PES.
Right,
Why would they do
track
that?
two, in the back of the CED, that planning guide is saying, look, if you have kids that come in that are weak, you might want to spend your time more here. It's just trying to give brandy new teachers who are clueless a suggestion. It is no way a foreshadowing of that going away. I personally would do it. If you took the time to teach kids 1S2, 2S2, PES takes all of about 10 more minutes.
Yeah,
Honestly.
I know, but I remember when it first came out and we went to that meeting, and I don't know if you were out in Chicago. Did you go to the meeting in
Yeah,
Chicago?
I was there. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was asking the question, where did this come from?
Well,
You
we
know,
know
and
where
then,
it came from, but that ship has sailed, Mark. It's not going away. We all know it's from the Spencer book, right?
right,
From
but did
Spencer,
they say that we have 5 years worth of questions on PES? I thought it was going to go away, to tell you the
No,
truth.
it's not going away. And
No.
I think they
Can I
like it
interject about
because-
PES?
What's that?
Can I interject about PES? I think that the only reason the College Board really put it in there was for spectroscopy, but there was a really cool article that came out this summer about some physicists who did some research using PES about the sodium water reaction. And it's a really cool, I think it was in Science Magazine, really cool thing about solvated electrons and what the definition of a metal is. And just, so I dropped the link there. There's a few other materials online, but it's just like really, really, really neat stuff to at least give PES like, is anyone even using PES? Well, apparently they did.
Yeah, the only issue is the spectrum doesn't really look like they show it.
Of course
Right.
they do, but
Yeah.
I mean, they're high school kids, so we gotta give them a break. And, you know, they don't look at, I mean, we wouldn't expect kids to look at IR spectrums either. It's not, it's just this looking at, you wouldn't expect to look at your own x-ray, or I don't expect to be able to look at my own mammogram, but it means a whole lot to my doctor, thank God, right? So
Teaching the PES because it's like this is the proof that tells us that the 4S fills before the 3D. I just love having that data rather than just saying this is what happens. This is how we know. I love it.
And X-ray stuff is really cool. I mean, like at ChemEd, I went and visited the National Laser Facility at Argonne National Lab, and like the stuff that they're doing with X-rays is just amazing. And I think it's actually useful. I mean, I didn't like PES when it first started, just because I'm like, you know, literally everybody's figured everything out. Why bother? And then like the more I look into it, the more I'm like, well, at least you get to talk about ionization energies, and you get to talk about, you know, ways to get experimental data out of things.
So did you get a chance to try the electron configuration lab that I showed you during the workshop?
you mean the, I don't
With
have
the
my
gen-
magnet yet. You mean the paramagnetic?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I get to school, I live in Western Mass and I live an hour and a half from my school.
Oh, okay.
But, well, Sam, I rent from a little old lady and live there during the week. Cause I got a bird. He lives for a week by himself, so no worries. But
It's like,
I haven't been there. Actually, I
Okay.
did go in, I don't know, whenever, but way before our time mark. So no, when I go back and I get one of my, whatever those magnets are, I'm gonna play with it. So no, I haven't done anything.
Oh, okay. No, that's cool. That's a good
When I
one.
walked out the door, I brought a lot of stuff with me. So I do have a lab in my basement, but I didn't bring the magnet home. So
Yeah, so do I. That's why I'm laughing, because I saw you said you filmed some of that stuff in your
yeah, no, I'll be able to do most of my labs in the next 2.5 weeks. And then I have to go in on the 31st. So I'll get more stuff then if I don't go before.
Well, I'll cut you a deal. I'm on the same plan. I'm actually planning to do exactly what you're doing, filming the labs and then having like a question packet. I'll share whatever I get done,
Sure.
as long as you're willing to share with me whatever you get done. This way we'll have the whole. I'm gonna attack equilibrium and acids and bases and all that. And if you could take care of Electrochem, that'll be cool. And I'm gonna do that electron configuration one on tape. So we'll have it on tape at least.
Well, I'm going to share one more time with you guys that are here, if I can, share my screen, just so you can see, where is the share? Oh, there it is. Wait, share screen. Share this, get the chat out of there. Now I need a, good Lord. Look, so if you look here, this is Chris's thing, at my Google Drive. Like I said, I'm obsessive compulsive about labeling. And so you do need that document, which is in the general info folder. There's a read this first document. And that document explains in great detail what the letters at the beginning of my documents mean. And for labs, TEA, I don't make TEA for other homeworky things because I give kids answers. I don't collect homework. I expect them to self-monitor. But this always goes along with lab things. And this stands for Practice AP Exams, PAPX. And so these are AP exams, questions that are unique to each topic. But anyway, this also, of course, tells you my order now. And I used to go A, B, C, D, E, F, G. But then when I'm like, oh, I don't like that. So I don't change the letters because it's too many documents to change the letters on. But then this will tell you the way it goes with AP. And so when you get into, say, a folder, say Electrochem, which for me is Unit B, it's reactions, and then both voltaic and electrolytic cells. So when you get in there, you see folders, and just recently, I didn't used to do this, but just recently I've put each lab in its own folder because I realized during this time of COVID, this reduction potential would be too long, too much of stuff. Because every document that I make, it comes in 3 flavors. So here's this reduction potential series lab, right? I make it in Pages, which is Mac's version of word processing. I make it as a PDF because I post those on my website, rangerchem.online.